concerns and listen to our issues. Today we came to talk about this, a small group of radical activists in the Youngstown area that want to put a community Bill of Rights back on the ballot again. It has already failed 4 times. Last time it failed by 16 percentage points. Our concern is this is costing the taxpayers of Youngstown a lot of money. About $50,000 so far in taxpayers' money has been wasted by putting this repeatedly on the ballot. In February, the Supreme Court of Ohio ruled that these ballot initiatives are not enforceable by local communities and cities, and therefore there is no point in putting this on the ballot again. And so we're calling on the local Board of Elections and local leaders in Youngstown to do everything they can to stop this from being put on the ballot and once again wasting taxpayers' money. As the head of the AFL-CIO in Mahoning and Trumbull County, our concern is about jobs. This legislation has the ability to kill jobs in our area. Behind me, I have members of the skilled trades, building trades. They do everything they can to bring jobs and work into our valley. They have great apprenticeship programs with decent paying jobs for our people, and this kind of legislation can hurt the work that they do and the money that they bring into this community. We do not want to see this, and it's time for this to stop. I personally am an environmentalist. I believe in responsible environmental controls, but you know what? This is not the way to do it. They need to take their fight to the state because that's who controls this kind of legislation, not the local community. They are repeatedly coming back to the people of the valley and who have every single time turned this down by a larger and larger margin every time. So I'd like to turn it over for a few comments to Bob Smith, one of the owners of Camelot Lanes. Bob?
Good morning. It's my wife, Peppy Smith. She's also, she actually is the boss of Camelot Lanes. I kind of do it for her. I'm concerned about this because I see continued waste of money. If we look at those 4 elections, we've spent over $200,000. That when I say we, we're talking about the Board of Elections in the city of Youngstown. That's $200,000 that we use for things such as road improvements and pothole recovery. I'm concerned about some of the aspects of the legislation which could take a small businessman such as myself. We could have all the appropriate permits, we could get everything done by the letter of the law, and there's these few people that could come in and stop the job because they feel it's against what they want to be done. We believe that what has happened over the past 3 years in this community with the investment of companies coming in from all over the country, with the monies, the royalties that have, and the lease payments that have gone into the pockets of our local citizens has been a tremendous boon for this area. Now, at this point in time, we may see that because crude oil on a worldwide basis has reduced in price, it is having some impact. They're not drilling quite as hard or as rapidly, but we know over the next 10 years, we're going to see a tremendous amount of investment coming into this community. And that's why your building trades are in favor of it. That's why we as small business owners are in favor of it. And we would urge the Board of Election, the City of Youngstown, to reject this ballot initiative. You have the right to do this under the Supreme Court ruling. This is something that's controlled by the Ohio State and their Department of Natural Resources. Please reject it.
I'm very interested in creating jobs in Youngstown. Our children have had to move away from Youngstown to get jobs in Dallas and Denver, and I would like to see 3 6-figure jobs available to our youth. And I believe that this initiative will, and its ramifications will limit the growth in our community and limit the business investment that's been taking place recently.
Any questions?
Oh, as you said, we can talk after it's over. Sure. Why not, we just talked to the mayor about your concern, and with all due respect, your position is as your woman, that the city charter requires them to follow the Ohio Constitution, that anybody, you, me, them, gather enough legitimate signatures on a petition, they have to, by law, put it on the ballot. Why not take this effort and tell the population, don't sign these petitions. If they don't get enough signatures, they don't get on the ballot. The reason they're getting on the ballot is because people signed the petitions. whether it's because they know what they're signing for or not. Why not now that they're getting paid? As you said, you're hurting jobs. Tell these people to stop doing what they're doing.
So, one of the things we want the Board of Elections and the mayor to do is to make this known to the public. What the Supreme Court decision was. We know that if they get the proper signatures, it has to go on the ballot. We know how that works.
Well,
but if the leaders in this,
well, the mayor is saying this, that Supreme Court, those Supreme Court decisions you guys are referring to have nothing to do with charter petitions. That, yes, they verify that ODNR runs
right,
drilling and the oil and gas industry, but those rulings have nothing to do with charter amendments that require cities like Youngstown to.
We respectively disagree with the mayor on this.
And that's I understand that, which that's what I'm saying.
Because we feel there has been legislation not only through the state constitution, but also two rulings just recently came about that prohibits this. We believe in the mayor, we enjoy what he's doing. But honestly, we respectfully disagree with what he's doing.
And he agrees with you folks. He'd rather not necessarily see these on the ballot because he thinks.
And we're pointing out that he's just been defeated 4 times. And the 4 times, the majority was on the margin. Petitions, the way they have them signed, is not the full amount that's being elected. No, it's a small percentage. So anybody can get something on the ballot if they want. So it is a flawed system. And we're
And I'm not,
saying enough.
and what I was saying,
We're
I'm not
enough.
saying he disagrees with you. I think he agrees with you. He thinks his hands are tied.
What I reference is that we need to have good common sense. We want to work. We want to build things. We do things safe. We do things legitimately. And that's where the problem is. This language that's being proposed gives us as if we don't even have a say in how we perform these jobs because we do it ineffectively. And that's what's upsetting in the building trades.
and we're hoping if leadership in the valley, if the mayor, if the Board of Elections tell people, look, this is what this charter amendment does, and it's under ODNR's control, we can't do anything about it, it's not good legislation, then people won't sign the petitions, and it won't be on the ballot. They won't have to waste money again to put it on the ballot. Taxpayers' dollars are being wasted here, and that offends us.
How does the Board of Elections?
There's a cost anytime you put anything on the ballot.
Well, no, I understand.
Well, if the Board of Elections would make it known to the community that, hey, this legislation was not, by the way, it doesn't do anything. It's controlled by ODNR. Any city that has passed this legislation has had legal issues. There are going to be many legal challenges. The cost of this is going to skyrocket beyond what the Board of Elections is spending to put it on the ballot. There's going to be legal challenges. The city is going to have to spend its time and with its legal team in court fighting these charges. And they're not going to lose. They've not lost in any city yet. But that's going to be the ramification. The economic cost to a city that's hurting economically is going to be huge.
Now that I started all this.
No, it's a good dialogue.
No, and I believe me, I agree with what you guys are saying.
Inside Jerry, there's time, there's due diligence of certifying every single signature that they're receiving, okay? In addition to, there's mandatory advertising, okay, that is actually a burden of taxpayers.
Sure.
And it's put on by a handful of people that are obtaining the signatures, and we're not even sure what pretense they're getting.
How many signatures do they actually need to collect?
You know, July?
I think there's somewhere around 1,200.
Yes, it's a very small number. Like I was saying, my wife's family is all in agriculture. They're farmers. They care about the land, about the water. They've won conservation awards. They know that this is bad legislation, and it's going to harm the community. Look, did you see yesterday's Vindicator? There's a nice article about how Ohio State and West Virginia University are doing a comprehensive study from beginning to end about the fracking process and how to dispose of brine safely and all the byproducts. That's what's needed. But that's done by the state legislature in Ohio. That is not done by a local community or a city.
So, Bill, it's not enforceable. So then, if it gets passed, your concern is that then the city has to go to court and fight it. doesn't that then finally resolve this and makes them go away?
But they have to fight every single case that's brought to them. That's what's happened in other cities. That's where the legal costs come up. And they win, but they have to spend the time in court.
So you believe that the Board of Elections actually have the authority?
Have the authority to not put this on the ballot.
Well, you think that they have, and also have the authority potentially to tell voters what this would do?
I don't know, Ron, can you answer that? I don't think so, but I think they have the right to answer voters' questions and inform voters. I don't know, I know if they get the proper number of signatures, they have to validate it and put it on the ballot. That's not, there's no question of that. We're more looking at local leaders in the community to come out and tell people, don't sign these petitions, it's going to create nothing but a legal headache for us.
So you would rather see the mayor and others tell folks don't sign the petition?
Right, the city council, everybody, people that really understand what this legislature is going to do.
Well, they have been doing that. I know there's been a campaign each of the past few times. The mayor has gone on doing that, saying don't vote for this.
And we think that's helping. That's why the number of people voting against it is increasing. Last time it lost by the biggest amount, 16 points. So every single time, you know, it's like we just keep getting better and better results. Why do we have to put up this fight? You know, for something that the voters have clearly 4 times said we don't want. It's bad legislation.
Yeah.
Here we are again looking at it in November. We have better things to spend our time on, like our schools in the voting ballot, than fighting things like this that could potentially harm jobs and keep businesses away from Youngstown. That's one of the mayor's concerns, is that businesses will not come to Youngstown if we have this kind of legislation in place. And that's our concern as well.
The mayor, you just talked, basically agrees with those points. Right. But views this, that his answer tonight is as long as they have those charts followed.
We appreciate his voice. People in Youngstown listen to him very well established.
Just on another note on a large.
I take it you guys,
Well, no,
you're
I mean,
business people.
You don't have to, just, this is a comment. The EPA has just come out recently on a national study, and, you know, they're not in favor of fracking, they're predisposed against it. But basically, they came out and said, done properly, with under the rules and regulations as set up by the various states, fracking does not affect the water supply. Because if you're going, when you're fracking, if you do it properly, and you drill down through the bedrock,
Sure.
and you case it properly, and you seal it properly, you're way below the water table, and you're getting your gas and oil that way.
Now, we've heard those stories before. In the end,
If done properly.
well, right,
And
absolutely,
they've been doing this for 50
absolutely.
years, and you know, there are some problems, but if done properly, we don't have a problem.
From a
The
small,
EPA said so.
sure, from a small business perspective, we know the unions are concerned about this. Your concerns that this comes up, and these people have shown they'll keep doing this until they get one vote to pass it. And then once it's on, then they move on to the next legal battle that Bill even mentions. This is one step in a series of steps that they want. From a small business perspective, your thought that this keeps coming back,
I think, you know, when you're used to running your own business and you think you've solved the problem, and then the thing comes back to you and it's legislative, in this case, it's very frustrating, very challenging. Some of the things that I'm beginning to understand that could potentially happen with these folks is that if we went out and, let's say we wanted to put in a new gas pump, and we got all the permits, they would have the ability to come in and stop us because they didn't think it was right. And this is shocking. This shouldn't happen. We as small business people, we need to generate jobs. We need to have a vibrant community because that's what makes our business and businesses like ours.
But we have a website, votersforballot.integrity.com. So you saw that on the release. So you can go there, contact your elected officials. One of the things we're hoping is that the state legislature will see things like this in communities and take action and make sure that these chemicals are, that they're safe fracking and that all the byproducts of the chemicals used will be disposed of properly. So that's going to take the state legislature, not something in a city like Youngstown.
Butch, can we talk with you for a second? Because you brought up the point respectfully. You